Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me tonight. There is a brutal truth about success that too many people avoid, too many people soften, and too many people never learn until life has already taken its toll. Success is not always fair. It is not always gentle. It is not always kind. Sometimes success is a hallway with no windows, no applause, no shortcuts, and no one holding your hand. Sometimes success is a lonely road where the only sound you hear is your own breath and the echo of your own doubts, and that is where the real test begins, because winners do not win when it is easy. Winners win when it is hard. Winners do not rise only when the crowd is cheering. Winners rise when nobody is watching. Winners do not build their lives on praise. They build their lives on purpose. They do not wait for the world to tell them they are enough. They decide deep in their own soul that they will become enough. They will become stronger. They will become wiser. They will become disciplined. They will become dependable. They will become the kind of person who can be trusted with a dream. Change. And let me tell you something important right now. Quitting feels easier than growing, but it never feels better later. Giving up can feel like relief for a moment, but it becomes regret with a long shadow. A quitter may escape pressure today, but he will meet disappointment tomorrow. A quitter may avoid the pain of effort, but he will inherit the pain of what might have been. And there is no pain quite like the pain of unrealized potential. There is no ache like looking back on years and saying, I was closer than I thought. I had more inside me than I used. So when we talk about winners, we are not just talking about people who collect trophies. We are talking about people who refuse to surrender their future to temporary feelings. We are talking about people who understand that life will test your emotions, but your emotions are not allowed to govern your destiny. We are talking about people who know that feelings are real, but feelings are not rulers. Pain is real, but pain is not permission. Fear is real, but fear is not a final answer. Doubt is real, but doubt is not a destination. You see, the world teaches many people to chase approval. It teaches them to ask, do you like me? Am I good enough? Did I impress you? Did I make you proud? And there is nothing wrong with wanting love, respect, and encouragement. That is human. But when your worth depends on other people clapping for you, you become fragile. You become rented out to public opinion. You become a leaf in the wind, blown wherever the crowd blows. One compliment lifts you up. One criticism tears you down. One approval makes you feel invincible. One rejection makes you feel invisible. That is not strength. That is slavery. Self-respect begins when you decide that your value is not a prize someone hands you after a performance. Your value is not assigned by applause. Your value is not created by popularity. Your value does not rise and fall with the comments, the likes, the whispers, or the silence of other people. Your value is in your character. Your value is in your effort. Your value is in your integrity. Your value is in the promise you keep to yourself when nobody else is there to witness it. And let me tell you, the most powerful people in the world are not the ones who need constant reassurance. The most powerful people are the ones who can stand alone and still stand tall. They can work in silence. They can grow in obscurity. They can endure criticism without collapsing. They can be misunderstood and keep moving anyway. They can be underappreciated and still deliver excellence. They can be rejected and still remain whole. That is emotional independence. And emotional independence is one of the great secrets of success, because if every setback becomes a personal insult, you will be too bruised to continue. If every no destroys your spirit, you will never build anything lasting. If every delay makes you bitter, you will poison your own progress. But if you learn to say, this is hard, but I am harder, then life begins to change. If you learn to say, this is disappointing, but it is not decisive, then you stop being managed by circumstance. If you learn to say, this did not work, but I am still working, then failure loses its power over you. You do not need to be fearless to be successful. You need to be faithful to the work. Let me say that again because somebody needs to hear it. You do not need to be fearless to be successful. You need to be faithful to the work. Fear will visit every serious person. Doubt will visit every ambitious person. Resistance will visit every person with a calling. The question is not whether pressure will come. The question is what you will do when it comes. Will you fold or will you focus? Will you freeze or will you move? Will you complain about the weight or will you become stronger under it? Think about steel. Steel does not become steel by being admired. It becomes steel through heat, pressure, and process. Think about diamonds. A diamond is not formed in a comfortable place. It is formed under immense pressure. Think about the oak tree. It does not become majestic by avoiding storms. It becomes rooted by standing through them. And so it is with human beings. The things we endure, if we endure them correctly, can deepen us instead of destroying us. But here is the part that hurts. Many people want the reward without the repetition. They want the harvest without the planting. They want the body without the discipline. They want the reputation without the sacrifice. They want the confidence without the preparation. They want the public victory without the private struggle. Life does not work that way. Success is not a vending machine. You cannot insert a little wish and receive a giant outcome. Success is a garden. You plant, you water, you wait, you protect, you prune. You return again and again to the soil of your own effort, even when there is no visible result yet. And some people quit in the middle of the season because they do not understand the nature of growth. They look at the ground and say nothing is happening. But underneath the surface, roots are forming. Below the visible line, character is being built. In the quiet place, consistency is creating capacity. That is why discipline matters so much. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. Discipline says, I care about my future enough to do what my emotions may not feel like doing today. Discipline says, I am not going to let my mood make my decisions. Discipline says, I may not feel ready, but I am going to start. Discipline says, I may be tired, but I will finish. Discipline says, I may not be understood, but I will remain true. And discipline, my friends, is freedom. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want. But real freedom is being able to do what you ought to do without being controlled by impulse. Real freedom is waking up and deciding your day instead of letting the day decide you. Real freedom is having the power to say no to the temptation that weakens you and yes to the principle that strengthens you. Real freedom is being governed by vision rather than vanity. That is why purpose matters. Without purpose, pain feels meaningless. Without purpose, delay feels like defeat. Without purpose, rejection feels personal. Without purpose, sacrifice feels unbearable. But with purpose, even suffering begins to speak. With purpose, the long nights are no longer empty. With purpose, the hard climb has direction. With purpose, the struggle becomes part of the story instead of the end of the story. Purpose changes the interpretation of pain. A man without purpose sees a setback and says, why is this happening to me? A woman with purpose sees the same setback and says, what is this trying to teach me? One person gets crushed by the moment. The other person grows through it. One person becomes a victim of events. The other becomes a student of experience. You must understand that your life will take on the shape of the questions you ask. Ask weak questions and you will get weak answers. Ask defeated questions and you will live defeated. Ask courageous questions and you will move toward courage. Ask purposeful questions and you will begin to build a purposeful life. What kind of person am I becoming when nobody is clapping for me? What habits am I repeating when no one is holding me accountable? What future am I building with the choices I make in private? What am I tolerating that is silently weakening me? What am I feeding my mind, my heart, my habits, and my spirit? Those are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary questions because growth begins in truth, not in illusion. And many people live their whole lives trying to protect an image while neglecting a reality. They polish the outside while the inside is starving. They want to appear strong while being deeply unstable. They want the appearance of success without the architecture of success. But a house built on image will collapse in a storm. A life built on truth can withstand pressure. So let me ask you, are you building your life on the opinion of others or on the discipline of your own convictions? Are you living for the approval of the crowd or the approval of your own conscience? Are you trying to impress people who will forget your name? Are you trying to become someone you would be proud to meet in the mirror? That mirror matters because every day, whether you admit it or not, you are becoming somebody. You are becoming more patient or more bitter. More focused or more scattered, more honest or more compromised, more courageous or more fearful, more disciplined or more distracted, more stable or more fragile, more grateful or more entitled, more responsible or more resentful. Every day is development, every decision is design, every habit is a vote for the person you will become, and one day the life you have built will stand in front of you and speak. That is why you cannot afford casual living if you want exceptional results. Exceptional lives are built by ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. A champion is not somebody who has one lucky day. A champion is somebody who shows up again and again, again and again, again and again, when the weather is good and when the weather is bad, when the motivation is high and when the motivation is gone, when it is exciting and when it is tedious, when the crowd is there and when the crowd has left. Again and again, that repetition is the price of mastery, and too many people want the crown without the process. They want the title without the training. It means they want the victory without the reps. But there is no bypassing the basics. There is no shortcut around consistency. There is no elevator to the top of a mountain. You take the steps, you earn the elevation. You pay in effort, in patience, in humility and perseverance. And let me make this plain. Success does not care how you feel on the day you are supposed to work. Success does not negotiate with laziness. Success does not bend to excuses. Success does not honor the person who says, I'll begin when I feel better. Success responds to the person who says, I will begin now. Now that word can change a life. Now I will write the page. Now I will make the call. Now I will study. Now I will train. Now I will apologize. Now we'll save, now we'll pray, now we'll get back up. Now we'll do the next right thing. That is how lives are transformed. Not by someday, not by maybe. Not by when the conditions are perfect. The perfect conditions rarely arrive. The perfect time is a myth that keeps people stuck in the waiting room of their own potential. The people who rise are not always the most gifted. Often they are the most decided. They have made a decision that they will not let the fear of imperfection rob them of progress. And that decision matters more than talent. Talent can open a door, but discipline keeps it open. Talent can start a journey, but character sustains it. Talent can draw attention, but consistency earns trust. Talent can make noise, but integrity builds legacy. A lot of people have talent, far fewer have stamina. A lot of people have dreams. Far fewer have follow-through. A lot of people want to win. Far fewer are willing to become the kind of person who can handle winning, because winning is not just about achievement. Winning is about identity. If you have not become steady, success will shake you. If you have not become humble, praise will distort you. If you have not become disciplined, opportunity will overwhelm you. If you have not become emotionally independent, criticism will control you. If you have not become purposeful, victory will not satisfy you for long. So the question is not merely, do you want success? The deeper question is, who are you becoming in pursuit of success? Are you becoming someone noble, someone dependable, someone clear, someone strong, someone grateful, someone who can carry more than ego, more than image, more than temporary applause? Because real success is not just what you build around you. Real success is what you build within you, and that inner building is often invisible. Nobody posts a celebration for the morning you chose to keep your word to yourself. Nobody throws confetti because you resisted a temptation, managed your time, got up early, or studied when you were tired. Nobody cheers when you stay committed to the little things that later become big things. But those hidden victories are the foundation of the visible ones. Do not underestimate the small decisions. One skipped workout becomes a pattern. One dishonest act becomes a habit. One excuse becomes a philosophy. One day of self-respect becomes a week of momentum. One act of courage becomes a new identity. One focused hour can change the direction of a month. One conversation can change a future. One choice made with conviction can alter a life. That is why winners pay attention to ordinary moments. They understand that greatness is not usually decided in the public arena. Greatness is shaped in private, in the unseen, in the routine, in the mundane, in the quiet battle between what is easy and what is right. And there is a battle, make no mistake about it. There is a war for your attention. There is a war for your energy. There is a war for your identity. There is a war for your confidence. There is a war for your time. There is a war for your mind. If you do not defend those things, somebody else will consume them. The world will hand you distractions dressed up as entertainment. It will hand you comparison dressed up as connection. It will hand you noise dressed up as information. It will hand you validation dressed up as worth. And if you accept those counterfeit rewards, you will slowly drift away from your own destiny. You cannot build a strong life on a weak mind. You cannot build a clear future on a cluttered spirit. You cannot build confidence on constant comparison. You cannot build purpose while chasing every opinion. You must learn to guard your mind like a gatekeeper. Guard your focus. Guard your words. Guard your habits. Guard your self-talk. Guard the way you interpret setbacks. Guard the company you keep. Guard the material you consume. Guard the inner conversation that either strengthens or sabotages you. Because your self-talk is either a ladder or a chain. Some people wake up and speak life into themselves. They say, I may not have all the answers, but I have the courage to move. They say, I am not behind, I am becoming. They say, I do not need permission to grow. They say, I may be bruised, but I am not broken. They say, I can handle hard things. They say, I will not abandon myself. And then there are those who wake up and speak poison. I am not enough. I always fail. Nothing ever works. People are against me. It is too late. I am not the kind of person who succeeds. Listen to me. Your words shape your world. Not instantly, maybe not dramatically at first, but steadily, quietly, powerfully. The mind listens. The heart listens. The body listens. The habits listen. The future listens. Speak defeat long enough and you will build a defeated life. Speak courage long enough and you will build a courageous one. Speak lies to yourself long enough and you will become strangers with your own potential. Speak truth with conviction and you will start walking taller, thinking clearer, and acting stronger. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you can control what you say to yourself about what happens to you. And that control is sacred because life will break many illusions, but it does not have to break your spirit. Life will expose weak foundations, but it does not have to destroy your purpose. Life will delay some dreams, but delay is not denial. Delay is not death. Delay is often development in disguise. Delay may be building what speed could never sustain. What if the waiting is not punishment? What if the resistance is not rejection but preparation? What if the pressure is not there to crush you but to clarify you? What if the closed door is not the end, but the redirection you needed? What if the detour is leading you away from something that would have harmed you? A mature person learns not to panic when the route changes. A mature person learns not to collapse when the plan gets interrupted. A mature person learns to adapt without surrendering. Because the goal is not to have a perfect path. The goal is to remain faithful on the path you are given. That is why so many people fail at the end. Not because they are incapable, but because they lose heart too soon. They come close to the breakthrough and then retreat into comfort. They are one more attempt away, one more honest conversation away, one more month away, one more disciplined season away. But they stop just before the storm breaks, and that is where tragedy lives. Not in the lack of ability, but in the lack of endurance. Endurance is a form of wisdom. It says, I understand that nothing meaningful is built overnight. Endurance says, I can bear this season without letting it define my soul. Endurance says, I will keep planting even if I have not seen the harvest yet. Endurance says, I will keep becoming even if nobody is applauding my becoming. And this matters because most people are not failing from lack of dreams. They are failing from lack of staying power. They quit when the excitement fades. They quit when it gets repetitive. They quit when progress becomes slow. They quit when somebody criticizes them. They quit when their own expectations outpace their maturity. But a winner learns how to remain in the fight long enough for skill to meet opportunity. Stay in the game. Stay in the work. Stay in the process. Stay in the room. Stay in your lane. Stay with your values. Stay with the habits that are building you. Stay with the mission that called you. Do not leave your future because your present is uncomfortable. Now, let us talk about confidence, because confidence is often this misunderstood. Many people think confidence is loudness. It is not. Many people think confidence is arrogance. It is not. Many people think confidence is never feeling fear. It is not. Real confidence is quiet certainty, rooted in evidence. It is the steady knowledge that you have done the work. You can learn, you can adapt, and you can face what comes next. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, you become more trustworthy in your own eyes. Every time you keep your word, you strengthen self-belief. Every time you overcome reluctance, you prove that action is stronger than mood. Every time you finish, you teach your mind that you are not a quitter. Confidence is built one fulfilled commitment at a time. That means every small victory matters. You got up when you did not want to. That matters. You studied when distraction was calling. That matters. You told the truth when lying would have been easier. That matters. You said no to what weakens you. That matters. You kept moving when you wanted to stop. That matters. Little by little, these decisions carve a new identity into the stone of your life. And the opposite is also true. Every broken promise to yourself weakens confidence. Every excuse erodes trust. Every surrender to comfort makes courage more expensive tomorrow. So when you say you want confidence, do not merely ask for feelings. Build evidence. Build a history with yourself that proves you are reliable. Because self-trust is the backbone of self-respect. And self-respect is one of the strongest foundations for success. A person with self-respect does not need to beg the world to believe in him. He believes in the work. He respects the process. He honors the effort. He understands that his worth is not determined by whoever happens to notice him today. He understands that external validation is a poor substitute for inner conviction. And here is another truth. The need for validation can become a hidden cage. It can make you perform rather than live. It can make you compare rather than create. It can make you chase attention instead of mastery. It can make you say yes when you should say no. It can make you wear masks instead of building character. It can make you edit your life for approval rather than live your life with purpose. And every time you trade your truth for acceptance, you pay with a part of yourself. That is too expensive. You are not on this earth to become a decorative version of someone else's expectation. You are not here to be molded by every passing opinion. You are here to grow into the full measure of your calling. That will require courage. That will require solitude. That will require seasons where not everyone understands you. That will require the strength to remain kind without becoming dependent, humble without becoming invisible, and confident without becoming arrogant. This balance is rare, but it is worth pursuing because the strongest people are not the loudest. The strongest people are often the calmest. They know who they are. They know what they stand for. They know what they will not compromise. They know that their mission is bigger than their momentary feelings. They know that their life is not a performance for strangers, but a stewardship before God, before conscience, before truth, and before the future they are creating. And when a person understands stewardship, everything changes. Time becomes precious. Energy becomes sacred. Relationships become intentional. Goals become serious. Habits become meaningful. The day becomes an opportunity rather than an accident. The life becomes a responsibility rather than a random event. Now let us talk about personal growth, because growth is not glamorous while it is happening. Growth often feels awkward. Growth often feels slow. Growth often feels humbling. Growth will expose weaknesses you did not want to see. Growth will make you face habits you had excuses for. Growth will ask you to let go of identities you have outgrown. Growth will challenge your pride, your comfort, your assumptions, and sometimes your friendships. But growth is the price of expansion. A seed must lose its shell to become a plant. A child must leave the certainty of infancy to become mature. A muscle must be stressed to grow stronger. A mind must be stretched to become sharper. A heart must be tested to become wiser. Growth is not comfortable, but it is beautiful. And anybody who is truly changed knows this. Becoming better is often inconvenient before it is rewarding. You may have to apologize, you may have to unlearn, you may have to start over, you may have to face embarrassment. You may have to admit that your old ways were costing you more than you realize. That takes humility, and humility is not weakness. Humility is the beginning of wisdom. A proud person protects the image. A wise person protects the future. A proud person says, I am fine even when I am not. A wise person says, I am willing to grow where I am weak. A proud person gets defensive. A wise person gets better. A proud person wants to appear correct. A wise person wants to become complete, and completeness is a journey. There is no finish line in character development. There is no final moment where growth says, I am done with you. You keep growing, you keep learning, you keep refining, you keep correcting, you keep sharpening. And the day you stop growing is the day you begin drifting backwards. So stay teachable, stay hungry, stay honest, stay curious, stay committed, stay soft enough to learn and strong enough to endure. That combination is powerful. A person who is teachable and disciplined can become unstoppable. Not because life will suddenly become easy, but because they will become resilient. Not because they will never fail, but because they will recover faster. Not because they will never feel pain, but because pain will no longer own them. Not because they will never need help, but because they will no longer need to be rescued from every hard moment. A strong person does not ask life to remove every challenge. A strong person asks life to make the challenge meaningful. That is the difference between surviving and transforming. And I want to speak directly to the person who has been tempted to quit. Maybe you have carried disappointment for too long. Maybe you have been misunderstood. Maybe you have worked hard and seen little result. Maybe your family did not believe in you. Maybe friends laughed at your dream. Maybe you failed in public and have been afraid to try again. Maybe you have been waiting for your confidence to return before you resume your life. Maybe you have been telling yourself that you need more time, more money, more support, more certainty. Hear me now. You may need many things, but you do not need permission to begin again. You do not need the world to understand before you move. You do not need everyone to approve before you rise. You do not need a perfect past to create a better future. You do not need to be unbroken to be useful. You do not need to be flawless to be worthy of progress. You need honesty. You need courage. You need discipline. You need a reason strong enough to pull you through the moments when your feelings try to turn you around. And you have that reason. Perhaps you have children watching you. Perhaps you have a calling in you that refuses to die. Perhaps you have a promise you made long ago and you still owe it to yourself. Perhaps you are tired of being ruled by fear. Perhaps you are ready to stop living in fragments and start living with intention. Whatever your reason is, hold it close. Feed it. Protect it. Return to it when the road gets rough. Because the road will get rough. There will be days when progress is slow. There will be days when nobody notices your sacrifice. There will be days when the old habits whisper your name. There will be days when the easy path feels attractive. There will be days when you wonder if it is worth it. And on those days, I want you to remember that winners are not made in comfort. They are made in decision, in repetition, in service to purpose, in the refusal to quit when quitting would be easier. The brutal truth about success is that it often asks for more than convenience. It asks for more than talent. It asks for more than excitement. It asks for your patience. It asks for your consistency. It asks for your standards. It asks for your willingness to be a beginner again and again until mastery arrives. It asks for your ability to stay humble under pressure and courageous under criticism. It asks for the part of you that says, I am not living for a moment. I am building a life. That is the truth. And the beautiful truth is this. When you give success that kind of respect, it begins to answer you. When you show up, it meets you. When you prepare, it opens doors. When you endure, it reveals strength you did not know you had. When you stay aligned with purpose, life becomes less random and more intentional. Opportunities begin to notice you. People begin to trust you. Confidence begins to settle into your bones. And slowly, almost quietly, you realize that you are no longer the same person who once doubted everything. You are stronger now. You are clearer now. You are calmer now. You are harder to shake now. You are less hungry for applause and more hungry for excellence. You are less interested in looking successful and more interested in becoming successful. You are less dependent on outside validation and more anchored in inner conviction. That is progress. That is maturity. That is the making of a winner. And remember this, winning is not only about getting to the top. Winning is about not abandoning yourself on the way there. Winning is about becoming someone you can respect when the lights go out. Winning is about living with integrity when nobody can reward you for it. Winning is about saying, I will not trade my soul for shortcuts. Winning is about refusing to let temporary discomfort rob you of permanent growth. So I ask you tonight, what will you do with this one life? Will you keep waiting for confidence, or will you build it? Will you keep chasing validation, or will you cultivate self-respect? Will you keep making excuses, or will you make progress? Will you keep shrinking to fit the expectations of others, or will you expand into the person you were born to be? Will you quit the moment it gets hard, or will you understand that hard is often the doorway to honor? Because every great life has a moment where a decision must be made. Retreat or rise, collapse or continue, conform or commit. And the difference between the two is rarely intelligence. It is not always opportunity. It is often the will to keep going when the inner voice says stop. But the winner says not today. The winner says I will keep going. The winner says I will respect myself enough to do the hard thing. The winner says, I will not be owned by fear. The winner says, I will not let the opinion of others define my worth. The winner says, I will build a life I do not have to apologize for. And that life begins with you right now in this moment. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when someone believes in you now. Stand up inside yourself. Straighten your shoulders, clear your mind, gather your courage. Choose the next right step, then the next, then the next. Because every step taken in discipline is a declaration of self-respect. Every act of courage is a vote for your future. Every refusal to quit is an announcement that your destiny is not negotiable. And when the world sees you rise, let them know this was not luck. Let them know this was not accident. Let them know this was not a personality trick or a temporary burst of enthusiasm. Let them know this was built in silence, built in struggle, built in tears, built in faith, built in repetition, built by a person who refused to surrender. That person can be you. That person is being forged even now. So go on and fight for your future. Go on and protect your mind and honor your word. Go on and discipline your habits. Go on and guard your peace. Go on and let go of the need to be endlessly validated. Go on and live from purpose, not applause. Go on and become the kind of person whose life speaks louder than your excuses ever did. And when the road gets steep, when the nights feel long, when the results seem delayed, when the old fears return, remember this with all your heart. Winners do not quit. Winners adapt. Winners endure. Winners grow. Winners stay. Winners rise again. Winners choose meaning over comfort. Winners choose discipline over drift. Winners choose purpose over approval. Winners choose self-respect over self-destruction. Winners do not quit. And neither will you, not because the road is easy, not because the pain is small, not because the battle is light, but because the life you are called to live is bigger than the fear that is trying to keep you small. So stand tall, breathe deep, and move. Me with courage, me with conviction, me with patience, me with fire, me with faith. Move until your life starts reflecting the discipline of your decisions and the dignity of your character. Move until your habits match your dreams. Move until your inside and your outside finally tell the same story. Move until your future can look back and thank you for not quitting. And when that day comes, when the storm has passed and the harvest begins and the person you are becoming finally stands revealed, you will know the truth that was hidden in every struggle. The brutal truth about success is that it never needed you to be perfect. It only needed you to stay. Stay long enough to learn. Stay long enough to grow. Stay long enough to become. Stay long enough to win. Now make that decision. Make it with your head high and your heart steady. Make it for your children if you have them. Make it for your future if you can see it. Make it for the little boy or little girl still living inside you who believed life could mean more than fear and failure. Make it for the dream that still lives in you, waiting for your courage to catch up. Make it now. And never, ever quit if you want. I can also turn this into a more YouTube voiceover version with stronger pauses, sound cues, and audience build moments.